Hello and welcome to Quality Attempted Horror, and today we're going to be talking about Night of the Comet. Not your average Christmas movie, but then we're not your average YouTube channel. We're not your average anything. We're just filmmakers, filmmaking lovers, film people. And we're going to talk about this 1984 cult classic, drive-in B movie, whatever you want to call it. I first experienced this on Blu-ray with Scream Factory when they were originally releasing back when they were a small niche label before they became the label. It was one of their earliest titles, and I remember being really obsessed with this movie because I was like, wow, just Valley Girls in the zombie apocalypse of the 80s. It was made in the 80s for the 80s, but I feel like it's very ahead of its time. And before we go too much into it, as always, we have Jim and we've got John, and I am the doctor. I'm bad with introductions, so we're working on it. But thank you for joining us, and don't forget to like us, don't forget to share us, and don't forget to subscribe to us. Come on. We need validation in our lives. This is often one of the recommendations. If someone gave me a top 100, this would make it on there. It's not always one that I remember for a top 25, but this would definitely be in my top 100 movies just because I like so much about it. And if you're familiar with Zombieland, I think it's a perfect double feature with Zombieland. Whether or not you watch it first or second is up to you, but it has that feeling, but in the 1980s. So we'll just go some general reactions first, and then we'll delve more into it. So who wants to take it away? Because, I always talk. When you guys need to talk some more.
You are quality attempted.
Oh no, we're quality attempted. We're quality attempted. I'm the quality attempted human being here, but as a whole, we are quality attempted.
Oh, let Jimmy take it.
Yeah, come on,
Yeah.
Jim.
All right. I'm always the
The
first guy
freshest
to watch
perspective.
these
You're the
things.
person that inspires us, so
Yeah. I saw it. This was the first time I've watched it in October, actually. I didn't realize it had any Christmas attachment to it. And it was actually really subtle, the Christmas stuff, which I'm sure you'll get into. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked the whole very 80s feeling movie, which was fun. Um, I think I started rewatching it before this, and I was surprised that the dialogue was actually really good and the writing seemed pretty good. So I think it's worth a second viewing because I think I started noticing a lot more things that I liked the second time around. So yeah, this was a fun one.
All right.
Uh,
You, John, I'm pretty sure you've seen this hundreds of times, like since the 80s. Not saying
a
you're
few
old.
times. Definitely a fun movie. It's was filmed more guerrilla than it might. Yeah, it might seem on film when you actually watch it.
Mhm.
Um, it definitely had some Fast Times at Ridgemont High vibes with the mall and the post-apocalyptic angle uh coming through. What do we have to say about this? Had some big names for or people who became known.
Mm.
This was kind of Kelly Maroney's was
Mhm.
young and Catherine Mary Stewart. Right?
Yep, that's the name.
I
Yep.
don't have my notes today.
I got the page up on my
She was
iPad.
Weekend at Bernie's too.
Yes, we got
I
version
remember
one,
seeing that.
not two, not my favorite one, but she was in the first one, the better movie, but two something else.
She was in both of them. I guess you're right. Right?
No, she was on two. I think two would have been a better movie if she was in it, but
Really?
she was not
I
in it.
went to the island. Why do I always think she's in two?
She should have been in two. It would have been a better movie. Not that it's not a perfect movie, but
Perfectly casted. What else do we got to say? We could delve into a little bit of the internet argument of there's Christmas movies and there's
Hmm,
movies set at Christmas.
I like
And
Mm.
I
that.
think this was more of a movie set at Christmas. It just happens to be, it fell on July 3rd. It was, it just happened to be Christmas. It had nothing to do with the plot, has nothing to do with the story. It doesn't, Christmas time doesn't really affect anything as
Right.
far as anything goes. It's like Die Hard, that argument. Like it just happens to be Christmas time. It was a Christmas party, right? It was not.
Yeah,
Christmas.
where are they? They're in like
They're
Southern
in Los Angeles.
California.
I'll do right
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're in
okay.
yeah, they're Valley Girls. Uh-oh. Yeah, it had really good special effects for a B movie. They
Yeah.
somehow shot empty roads in Los Angeles, which is unfathomable to think of for a small budget. When REM filmed Everybody Hurts, I know they shut down a stretch of highway to sit in the
Mm.
car for the video, and it pissed off a lot of people. But this, they just kind of, I believe, we're just waiting for red lights, and it would be like, "All right, go," and then go
Wow.
when he was there, and then it was ultra. I said they did a really good job of hiding the low budget.
Oh,
Yes.
totally. I think it's like you said, those specific shots made it feel like, well, there's like actually some cinematography in here. Like,
Yeah, it had the red. Everything had a red hue until it rained at
Oh
the. Oh,
yeah.
just almost. But
Uh,
it had a
yeah.
red hue while it was, after the comet went over. What else we have to say about it? You probably have all the notes there. You want to take it,
no,
Joel?
I'm just a dork. But what we were saying, some of the shots, like a very empty LA, and you're just like, well, how the hell did they get that shot? And
I
I'm
sat in
looking,
that traffic.
and they held it. They held it. It wasn't like,
Yeah. Yeah, some of the Christmas stuff, on the rewatch, I was looking
yeah,
for it because now I had it in mind and I was like,
the
okay,
background.
it's like a Christmas party. And then when she's in the street and it's empty and she's on the motorcycle, the car is playing Jingle Bells that's like
Mhm.
stalled next to her. And then yeah, some of the later stuff he's in like the Christmas the Santa Claus suit and stuff like that. But like John said, if you take Christmas out or put it in any other day, it
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
change the story.
it
But
doesn't.
Christmas is fun.
Yeah, it doesn't enhance it, but I feel like it's nice because it's like it's a very realistic thing. Like it's like, oh, Christmas is right around the corner and the comet's coming and the world just ended. It's not like convenient, like it's August 12th. No, people are actually working for the holidays. And even in the radio program, the guy's like, oh, good luck getting a spot at the mall. And it's like it was a
Mm.
very inconvenient time for the world to end for most people. And especially when he shows up at the Santa Claus suit, he was trying to surprise the girls, because Robert Beltran's character Hector, he's like, stand-up guy. One of the lines I won't say, but the girl's like, well, he's either a gentleman or he's a homosexual. They said, but like I like the fact that that character just doesn't go for with the girl, and it's like he has like very good intentions. Like he's almost like childlike. He goes home to see his family to make sure they're okay, and he has this very Christmas nature to it. But I'm definitely with John in that boat. It is not a Christmas movie. It's a movie that takes place during Christmas. Like, well, is Gremlins a Christmas movie, or is Gremlins just happen to take place during Christmas? So
I'd say that's another
that's a
bit
whole
of
nother.
timing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the things that stand out to me, I'll just be annoying and just start rambling now, like I usually do. But what
Go
I
for the
love about
spoilers.
spoilers, we're gonna put the spoiler
Yeah.
alert. So the thing I like the most is uh I love the sisters' relationship. And they said the writer director originally just talked and said what would be like the worst thing about the world ending, and the girls would say, well, there's no one to date. And I really thought that was a really interesting subtext, especially that they had that beef over the last man on Earth kind of thing. They're like, they both wanted him. They both thought he was cute. And it's kind of like an ongoing thing, even though it's obvious he's going to be with Catherine Mary Stewart. But also Kelly Maroney's like, she's like the smaller sister. But at the end of the movie, the little license plate giveaway from the callback from the
Yeah.
beginning, which I thought was just, I'm like, this is how you knew the filmmaker knew what he was doing. And
Yeah.
also the funny thing in the beginning, the guy's trying to sell the Comet things. It's like 9.50, it's $9. And you're like, wow, 9.50 in the 80s is a ripoff. So you can get it,
Yeah,
right?
It's
And then
we adjust that for inflation. Yeah, it's like a
yeah.
$30
And you get a sense of like, he's like, I need you to walk the aisle. She's like, they're gonna throw stuff at me. I'm like, yeah, it's not a fake. This is like just your middle or LA people kind of can suck in this thing. And the other thing is like, oh, this comet could be bad. So you had the think tank, which they do really early in the movie, which you don't know what the hell's going on the first time when you watch it, like when they close the doors.
Mm.
And then you know all the people are like, oh, I want to see the comet. I want to see the comet. I thought a lot of Independence Day when all the people went to the White House to see the aliens, like, oh, they won't hurt us. And then,
Mm.
but
Right.
the best part was the girls who survived didn't mean to survive. It was just an accident, you know. And I just like their energy. I like the fact that also their father was a military person, so they're not damsels in distress by any means throughout this movie, which I really like because I'm not a big fan of damsels in distress usually in movies. Even though at the end Hector kind of saving them ish, but not really. Um,
Mm.
During the interviews, I remember watching the bonus features, Robert Beltran, who was in Eating Raoul, which was a movie by Paul Bartel and Mary Warvinoff, which was the main female scientist, who you think's a bad guy the whole movie, but she's actually on everyone else's side. I like that red herring aspect. And the plot of that movie was these bland people need to open a restaurant, and then they start pretending to be swingers, and then they kill people and eat them. It's very comedic though, because they're like, it's super low budget. But those characters eventually show up in Chopping Mall, which has Kelly Maroney in it. And it's kind of cool, like how they're all kind of, these low budget filmmakers were all kind of friends back in the day, you know, like they all really helped each other out. And one of my favorite parts is after they shoot the car up with the Uzi and they talk about,
Yeah.
they're like, what should we do? Let's go to the mall. And then they go to the mall and they play a Girls Just Want to Have Fun cover, which I had a hard time tracking that version down because I do like it, by Tammy Hollabrook, I believe. And you know, you see all the zombies that can talk. That was a big thing. The zombies could talk, and it was like a degenerative disease. Like it wasn't
Mm.
long lasting. And then, as always with most zombie movies, the humans are a bigger problem than the zombies because it was the scientists that were going to kill kids and drain their blood. And you're like, holy crap, this is kind of, you know, these people are really evil, but you know, they're scientists. Okay. And that one scene, especially when the kids are getting off the helicopter and then you see them fighting and you just hear the blaring of the, I remember liking that in Top Gun too. A lot of times when they have that shot, you have the people arguing and you just hear the airplane rotors. It doesn't matter what they say, but you know that there's a conflict there and you're just like, oh, what are they saying? And you'll figure it out. Yeah, the strong female leads really like are something I like about the movie. And I've made a lot of comparisons to this in Zombieland, but I do prefer this just a bit better just because I don't know, it seems a little more realistic and the plot, what was it? The Act 3 stands up. I always felt Zombieland's Act 3 was very weak. The movie was great up until the end. Like, not saying it was a crappy ending, but it just became a generic, all right, gotta save Emma Stone and Abigail Breslin. But this one, I thought they were like, okay, we got to stop these scientists from killing us because they want to live a couple of more hours. And I don't know. I
I
really,
didn't know about that.
what?
That whole like that was pretty late into the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
As
yeah.
like first time
Mm-hmm.
viewing, I was like, "Whoa, oh, this is like a surprise. Like it
Mm-hmm.
took a turn, and there's like we're in this bunker and scientists and um yeah, it took a whole different shift, which I liked because
Yeah,
if they were gonna stay in the deserted LA for too long, I don't know, it might have gotten
yeah.
a little boring. They would have just kept doing a lot of the same stuff, but
And it's Valley girls who are well prepared for the military father. It's just like, and everyone
yeah.
is real. And the actor Robert Beltran is like, I like the last man on earth was a Hispanic man, and he just happened to be a truck driver. And it's just like these all felt like people that would survive at the end of the world, you know, kind of like very Dawn of the Dead-ish. Remember it was the remake where it was just like, you know, you had a Best Buy TV salesman, you had these people, it was just they're just generic people. They're not meant to survive, and then they have to outsmart the people that were supposed to be so smart. So I always recommend this movie. And the thing is, like, Night of the Comet, what's that about? Well, it's a very deceiving title. Even if you look at the poster, you don't know what the hell this movie is about. And this
No,
movie did good because of cable. They said it showed a lot on cable and home video, so it just shows you that its initial run never has to do with, you know, like a film's success. It's its longevity is based on fans, which John and I are very familiar with because we're always at these conventions, and the fans seeing a lot of these actors and actresses who were in a movie 30, 40 years ago, they like love to get that attention still, and we like to see them, you know, so it's just part of that. That was a long
It's actually they're always more surprised at how, like, yeah, they make a movie in 1985. This came out, right? 86?
84 actually.
84, all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then yeah, what are we, 30, almost 40 years later, and they're at a convention with a line of people have their DVD signed, and they're like, this movie was like nothing when it came out, and now it's got more famous now than it was, when it was a period, when it was hip.
It made $14.4 million off a $700,000 budget.
Wow.
Too shabby.
Yeah, and
that's impressive.
Crazy. And it's such an odd premise. You're like, oh, this sounds like a stupid movie, but it's not. It's it just seems like, oh, you know, it's an eye roller if someone you told someone, you're like, oh, that's like a mockbuster or something. Like, no, this is a very well thought out movie, and it's well done.
Is any of the stuff ever, I don't remember, like what happens to the people? Is that explained really by the scientists?
I think
like, they think aliens or a virus or
how do they explain it?
It
took your carbon and it condensed you down into, it was brick dust. It's on IMDb probably. It was like brick dust, like ground up brick was what the bodies were. And they said it just condensed your body until you were just a pile of dust.
Oh, okay. Oh, because they accidentally left open
vents.
Well, the scientists left
the scientists
I thought that was,
and that's why they started.
Yes. So smart as they were, they still did something fundamentally stupid.
That's what I thought was funny, because you're like, oh, you forgot to turn the vents off. Like that, you know, someone should have got that.
And meanwhile, the girl and guy banging in the photo in the film room at the movie theater survived with no problem.
That was funny though. I thought that was for like us film fans, and probably more so today even then. He's like, do you know how many people would be, you know, creaming their pants over something like this? I'm like, yeah, that's true, like a film print. And I like the line that the guy's like, he's been doing to her what he's been doing to me for years. And I was like, so like he didn't have to say it, but we all like, oh. And then she just goes in there, and it wasn't like a horror movie with just boobs and, you know, just TNA.
Yeah.
They really strayed away from that, and when characters were in danger, even though it was a comedy, it was taken seriously enough. Like that first fight with the guy with the monkey wrench in the back alley. So like, but it was just a fun apocalypse. I can't say the word, but apocalypse there.
Yeah. I think, like you said, the sisters, like their chemistry together, like they're really good. And they have some like little lines together that are just so like, oh, they really come off like sisters.
Yeah.
And then shooting up the car.
Yeah.
And then just sort of like, you can tell they're just sort of like, yeah, we can handle this. Let's go to the mall. Like, it's such a good scene.
And Dad would have got us an Uzi. Like the way, like,
yeah,
this gun sucks. And the other thing was with the stepmom, like the slap scene, and he just decks her, and you're like, but she could take it, and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah, that was just a little smack.
You already have.
They're both. It seemed
you don't need Chuck. I was like, oh.
And yeah, the stepmom and the dad both sound like horrible people.
Oh yeah, you know, they're not present, and you know, it's just, but it seemed like an actual family, especially like, you know, that's the thing. You're like, oh yeah, these idealized parents, no, they suck.
A pet peeve of mine that they do that they didn't, which I'm glad they did. There was a whole scene in the movie theater where there's posters on the wall of new releases and stuff. A lot of horror movie people will they'll show how big of a fan they are, and you'd walk in and there's a Dawn of the Dead poster, and there's a Night of the Living Dead poster, and there's a They Live, whatever, and the people's names would be like, oh, John Romero, and stuff like that, and they just whatever posters were on the wall, they just left them up for the most part.
There was a Tommy
so that was pretty.
Yeah,
I'm glad that they didn't go nuts and like really shove in your face that
absolutely.
I'm a fan, and here, look at all these things I'm going to throw on there.
Yeah.
For thinking it's an Easter egg, but that always irks me when they do that in the movie.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like,
well, they pander a lot to the horror fans, and when he opened the door and then he closed it, I'm like, it's a Red Dust poster, and I don't know if either of you guys watched it. It was with Clark Gable and Jean Harlow, and I used to love Jean Harlow, so I saw a lot of her movies, but I'm like, that's a fucking Red Dust poster. I was like, that's awesome, because that's a very old movie that only really people like that period, but it wasn't like, oh, like if you saw a remake of that today, you would see every movie from the 80s around this time. It would be very specifically targeted, and it wasn't like an actual movie.
Yeah.
You know, the guy was like, I don't give a shit, just play whatever the hell we have. Like the manager didn't care. But he was also so managerial. I love that. He's like, oh, the concession is over there. Like, he was aware that he was yelling at someone while still working. And we've all worked those jobs where we're being yelled at and a customer comes.
Yeah.
I don't want them cutting up the seats. Now go with the flashlight. And even the whole thing on the TV I thought was cool, like the coverage. I just always thought the guy who was doing the interviewing reminded me of like a really bad Paul Simon knockoff who didn't know what he was doing, like, you know, interviewing the people. But when Doris punches Kelly Maroney and she rolls, he's like, well, we got a really nice bunch of people out here tonight. I thought that was like one of the most perfectly timed comments. It's a movie that works so well, and people really do like it. It's not like a hated movie. It's just maybe not the most. I think the poster design probably might be its biggest detractor. And you look at any of the DVD releases, you don't know what the hell this movie is about, but you have to watch it. It's like, it's not. But then certain posters, you know, it's just, I don't know. I've always been weird with posters because like certain movies like Jurassic Park, it doesn't tell you anything that makes you want to watch it, or Batman, like that high concept. But then a bad poster, you're like, oh, why the hell should I watch this? You know?
Yeah, I think when I was choosing in October, because there's so many Night of the Demon, Night of the whatever, and this one I was like, I'm not entirely sure what this is, but still
we could have done a Night of the retrospective, Night of the Demon. What was the other one? Night of
the Creeps, Night of the Creeps.
The Creeps is a good one.
Yeah, I did watch that one too.
Put that on the list.
Not Night of the Hunter. That's a 50s movie. I call it a kids fantasy film noir. It's a very good one. Spike Lee referenced that in Do the Right Thing, and one of the best homages I've ever seen, because, you know, a lot of times people just do the same thing, but I'll always preach Night of the Comet. I was just, because when we were talking we have a group chat, everyone out there, and we're thinking of movies, and then I originally wanted to do Christmas Evil, which the shirt John is wearing, and for some reason I just didn't want to be depressing. And then Jim sent this list, and I saw Night of the Comet. I'm like, Night of the Comet's a Christmas movie? I'm like, oh yeah, he's dressed as Santa Claus. And I always forget that, because in LA it's always hot, you know, it's always. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And we'd all seen it, and I just got to revisit it again right before we got on. I was like, I want to watch it again, and it's just always fun. And
so
the Red Sky.
Cut you off.
No,
I had one, I guess, like criticism thing I could have done with.
I love this.
So I think like Hector, I wasn't fully invested in Hector and Regina's interest in each other. I think maybe it just started too early for me. It was like at the radio station, it was almost like immediate. They were kind of into each other. And then at the end, she becomes this very like domesticated like mom figure.
I gotcha.
Which was like almost too big of a 180 from her like shooting Uzis at the cars and playing video games, and and sort of like I can take care of myself. So that was my only thing that I was like, maybe uh I would have bought it more if towards the end she felt like, okay, now I'm comfortable to
I got
like
you.
pursue you, Hector. Like now let's do that. But first let's like
Yeah, yeah.
figure out how to decide. But obviously it didn't take
No, I
away
mean,
from like
yeah.
didn't make me not like the movie. It was just my one thing.
I
Oh,
love. Hmm? Go, John.
oh no, I was gonna say that also parlays in right before that. He's like throwing the machine gun in a garbage can. It's
Mhm.
like, why would we hold on it just in case,
Right.
because then out of nowhere, the fifth person saw them or sixth person saw the planet rolls up. So you
Right.
never, you really don't know outside of Los Angeles what it looks like. So
I
Right. Like
yeah, that
save
was
the gun for the sequel. Come on.
Yeah, that's the thing
um,
though. It's a movie that doesn't sequel bait, and
Yeah, yeah.
the 180 is weird, but I thought my favorite thing is her taking the pictures of the kids, and she's just getting so excited, like she's legit. She's like, okay, I'm just a mom now, but I didn't have to give birth. So like, she's like, maybe that was just her being in the mood. Do I want to be a mom? Because you also remember they're teenagers, and you're like, hey, you're a mom now. All right, let's fucking do it. And then they can always drive back. No one's gonna know, like, where'd you throw that gun out? Well, that one place on Sunset, we can go back there. Because no one's gonna take out the trash, but not to negate what you guys are saying, but I don't know. I just thought she's just like, I could be a mom now. Screw it, and but yes, the contrived nature of everyone being coupled off, like, but I did like the guy just showing up with the same license plate, which
Yeah. Oh yeah.
when she meets Reg, she's gonna be like, I don't like him. Of course you don't like him because you can't have him. No, he's an asshole and blah blah blah. And I really do like that she was a hardcore gamer too. Like she was like such a perfectionist. She had to have everything, which is something someone in the 80s would do. Like it was one of those things I disliked about it, where it's like, oh, you want to go play Street Fighter? And I'm like, what? Street Fighter wasn't out. And then they were playing Street Fighter 1, and I was like, did anyone really give a shit about Street Fighter 1? I remember everyone was about Street Fighter 2. But they tried to
two
like
blue.
yeah, like
Mm.
nobody played 1. Maybe they did, but 1 sucked. Let's be honest.
Oh, I mean, it did well enough to warrant a sequel, I guess.
Yeah, but then
And then
any
they just
Warner people, yeah. I
Did
mean,
make it seem like you should probably play video games if you want to survive an
yeah.
apocalypse. Because the two people,
Yeah,
they,
and
her and the guy at DMK or whatever his
yeah.
name, they survived.
That was so cool, and he had the license plate, and he's probably a total douche. But then Kelly Maroney would probably be into him, just like it. It seemed to really work.
Yeah,
Every time I
Yeah, I
watch
like
this,
that.
I feel like I gotta watch Chopping Mall though, because I'm like, I need more Kelly Maroney. I need more Catherine May Stewart. Like, because I wish they would have done more movies together, just because they had amazing chemistry. Robert Beltran,
Yeah.
I wish he was in it more, maybe, because you don't really get to like him that much. He's
yeah.
in that
It
one
didn't
scene.
have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
Like in the middle of the movie, like, I'm gonna leave for a while. All right, I'll see you.
I mean, it made sense why he left, but like you don't get to
Yeah.
resonate when he comes back and he gets to have that conversation with Mary Warrenoff, and she's like, "Oh, you are cute." But I think it was like the sweetest you see him in the whole movie is like he has the Santa Claus outfit, he has the roses, and I was like, "That's kind of cute." Um, but we have 3 minutes left, so
So I gotta watch Christmas Evil. When is this from? This is the 80s too?
Christmas Evil's from
81?
1980.
Was it
So
80? Okay, it
yeah, so
was
it's probably shot the late 70s, so it has that grimy, ugly look. It is,
Nice.
and they did a good 4K restoration on it.
Oh, cool.
It looks like it was just, oh my God. It's fucked up, but it's a comedy. That's the thing. It has like this
tongue in
trauma.
cheek.
Hmm?
Tongue in cheek. Like
It's very tongue in cheek, but
once in a while,
if you don't
maybe.
if you don't get it, you're like, wow, this is a really messed up movie, because this guy's like he like makes a naughty and nice list. He actually watches kids, but it's like you could think he's a pervert, but it's not in a perverted way. He actually believes so much in the idea of Santa Claus. And when you think about it, you're like, the Santa Claus is a very creepy idea. Like, no, like he like makes his life to be out it, and he's obsessed with it. And it's like a very interesting mental health exercise too, just because there's a child trauma. That's where the slasher comes in. He has a childhood trauma which makes him become Santa Claus. Not like anyone did anything, but he sees Santa Claus and he thinks he's real, and then he goes downstairs and sees mommy doing more than kissing Santa Claus. So he just tries to delete that memory, and then they flash forward and he's just this middle-aged lonely man who works in a toy factory. If you watch, it's like it's more of a humane movie, I guess, than Silent Night, Deadly Night, where it's like Silent Night, Deadly Night is hard to watch because the kid goes through so much abuse in that orphanage, and you're just like, ugh. Like what you like fast forward through that part because it is very hard to watch. I mean, I'm not saying to you, but because what is it? There's a killed Santa Claus. He tries to rape the kid's mom. The guy's grandfather just tells him that Santa Claus is gonna kill him. It's like, but it's also a comedy, but it's just like really fucked up. Thank you so much for watching Quality Attempt at Horror. We will be back soon, maybe with another Christmas movie, maybe with New Year's Evil. The only New Year's horror movie, and it is a doozy. But we're gonna try to get something else out real soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. Quality Attempted.